everyone, and welcome back to Sundays in the Garden. If you're new to the channel, my name is Sarah, and on my channel I share everything I'm getting up to in my English cottage garden, my kitchen garden and my allotment. What I'm doing in 2025 is actually filming every single day of my gardening year. The majority of those are spent gardening or garden related things, either in the cottage garden, the kitchen garden, the allotment. My reasons for doing that are really to have a record for myself so I can look back over a full gardening year and remind myself what jobs I was doing when. I can literally go week by week through all of my videos and say, okay, January, week 1, I was doing this. January, week 2, I was doing that. So that hopefully next year I can kind of keep on track and do all those jobs and get them done in a timely way. Also, I can look and see where the mistakes were made. Oh, okay, those weren't ready to harvest in time. Maybe I should have sowed those 2 weeks before and make a little note of that. So it's just a log really to see what I was doing every single day of the year and a record for me. But I also hope it will be useful to you as well. So you can either look back over the record of the year once it's all complete, or you can follow along with the journey this year and see what I'm doing week by week, month by month, and hopefully give you some tips and inspiration along the way as well. If you think that could be useful to you, then please do feel like you can subscribe below because the community is really growing and everyone is so helpful and supportive. So you can usually find answers you're looking for in the comments. We're finally coming out of the other side of our 3rd heat wave of the year here in the UK, and everything is looking a bit sorry for itself. Some things do enjoy the sun, but the majority of my plants are looking like they could do with some really good rain now. So hopefully we might get a little bit of rain at some point this week. Fingers crossed. How's everything doing in your gardens, allotments and growing spaces? Let me know in the comments below. Today is Sunday, and those of you who've been following me for a while will know that I cleared one of the beds last week by harvesting the majority of my onions and garlic. I've still got 2 elephant garlic bulbs in, so I'm going to harvest those today as the first job, and then I'm going to sow my Christmas parsnips and carrots. With the last of the elephant garlic now out, it was time to weed this bed. Once the bed was clear, I took 2 potato buckets and emptied the contents onto the top of the newly cleared bed. This really served 2 purposes, one being I was able to harvest some lovely new potatoes for the week ahead, and 2, I could reuse the compost in these barrels to top up this bed before planting. Next, I gave the area a good water for a nice surface for the seeds to be planted into. I prefer to water beforehand when planting seeds because I find that it means the seeds move around less in the soil than they would do if I watered afterwards. And then it was on to some seed sowing, and I made 3 drills for some carrots, and then I made 3 drills for some parsnip seeds as well, so 6 little trenches or drills in total. And I just finally sprinkled the seeds into these areas, and I will thin them out later on. Now, I earlier said that these are my Christmas sowings, and whilst that is true, I'm not expecting any of these to get particularly large. I hadn't put any parsnips in this year because I hadn't had the space earlier in the year because the beds were all filled up. So I'm putting them in now, and I'm expecting some very small parsnips. Perhaps they won't need to be cut down to size. They maybe can be cooked at their full size for Christmas dinner, but fingers crossed we get a few. Next, I took some small metal hoops that I've had for many years and put 6 of them in across the bed in roughly even spacing. Finally, I covered the whole area with some insect netting, mainly to protect the carrots from any carrot root fly, but also to protect from slugs and any other pests. I secured the netting in place with some bricks, and that was another job done for July. Monday was a busy day, so all I managed to do was pop outside to the kitchen garden in the evening to harvest some veggies. But this is your reminder, if that is all you manage to do with your gardening day, then it is time very well spent. Hello! As you can see, I'm not in my normal gardening stuff. This is proper work clothes, so I haven't got loads of time today. So I've just got my classic 15 minutes to see what I can get done in 15 minutes this lunchtime. First job, feed the worms. Next, I'm going to feed the tomatoes. My tomatoes, despite starting them really early, are really slow this year. And I think it's the position of the greenhouse now being so shaded. So I'm going to have to really think about that for next year, whether we can cut some branches back from around here to give it a bit more sunlight, or whether we need to relocate it completely. Next, I'm going to quickly feed these guys and then also tie this in a bit to give it some extra support. Yay! I've just spotted some blackberries, ripe blackberries up here. Can I get to them? So good. So good. I'm going to take these in for my little boys. They will appreciate these. And finally, for Tuesday, I spent a few minutes deadheading the rose hips that were starting to form on the David Austin Roald Dahl rose, because there are lots of beautiful new buds starting to form. So I want the plant to put all of its energy into producing these beautiful second flush of flowers. Good morning, everyone. It is Wednesday, the 16th of July. It is my birthday, and I am at RHS Wentworth Woodhouse near Rotherham to visit their flower show. And it's the first time that they've held a flower show here. I'm going to go down to the press office, pick up my press pass, and then take a look around and take you with me. And let's see what the show has in store. Wow. These were my first thoughts, just wow. This place reminded me of Chatsworth or even Buckingham Palace, and it seemed a worthy home for this Northern RHS show. I went inside the house first of all and made my way to the press office, so I thought I'd take you with me so you can see exactly what I saw as I journeyed down to the press office. I peeked into all the little nooks and crannies. It was lovely and quiet because no one else was around, and I saw this beautiful magical setup in this room here. So let me read you a little bit about it. RHS Rhubarb by Candlelight. Grab a candle and explore this interactive installation which celebrates this Yorkshire horticultural tradition. See the beautiful planting inspired by the famous forcing sheds, where the only light is the flickering glow of the picker's candle, illuminating the bright pink stems and yellow leaves of the fruit. Hear the soundscape that sound artist Duncan Chapman created from recordings of the sounds of forced Yorkshire rhubarb growing in the dark. Smell the sweet aroma of rhubarb intermingled with the fresh, ripe scent of rich soil in the damp, lightless environment teeming with life. After that absolutely magical experience, it was up to this stunning hall where many talks are taking place across the course of the weekend. This was the timetable for Wednesday to give you an idea. Upon exiting the hall, I found myself in this corridor which featured some stunning artwork of fruit and veg, and this signage which was pointing me towards the floral installations and the fruit and veg competition. This space was just magical. This is flowers as art, and the work that the artists had created was just stunning. Please feel free to pause these sections and read the signage to learn all about these fantastic installations. Outside, the first gardens I explored were those designed by young designers. The RHS Teenage Dirt Park Garden, designed by Rachel Platt in conjunction with young people from Rotherham, invites young people to enjoy and use their outside community spaces. Then I came to the longboarders, which were full of inspiration as always. This one was called Tea and Tranquility and had a lovely relaxed feel. But the absolute highlight of the day for me was the RHS Miners Garden designed by Chris Myers. It was stunning, and you can hear all about this garden and how it was put together on BBC Gardener'S World, which was on Friday, the 18th of July, if you have a look back on the BBC iPlayer. But this was stunning, documenting and highlighting how miners would live together and grow together to produce food for their families, and also just how much they love being outside after spending so much time in the dark. But the space was just so beautifully put together, both inspiring and thought-provoking. Next, I headed into the floral marquee to marvel over these absolutely magnificent displays. Then it was time to head into the lifestyle pavilion to do some shopping. Before checking out the main stage to see who would be sharing their gardening thoughts and ideas today. And then it was time to head home to spend the rest of my birthday with my family, but great to spot Adam Frost and Francis Tophill doing their thing for Gardener's World. And after a 2-hour drive home, what does she decide to do with her birthday afternoon? Dig over the allotment, of course. Another fantastic birthday. Here's to 38. On Thursday, the first thing we did with our morning was to head back down the allotment for some blackberry picking. I took a moment to just sit back and appreciate how much I've done so far with the plot, and then my little boys got on with their blackberry picking, and we were really pleased with the amount we managed to collect. Once back home, I checked to see if there was any germination with the carrots and parsnips, but nothing yet. Then I picked another cucumber and some runner beans. Finally, it was off out to the forest for a walk with my 2 little boys. On Friday, I began harvesting some of my sweet pea seeds. To do this, I take the pods that have dried out and they look like this, making sure they're fully dried out with no green left on them. And then if they're ready to harvest, they should just squeeze open, and they're very crunchy. So I just split them down the middle here and then collect the seeds that are inside. Each one has about 6 or 7 seeds in. So I'm just tipping them into this bowl here, and then I'll take them inside and save them for either some autumn sowing or spring sowing next year. And once I was back inside, we made some jam. 700 grams of blackcurrants, 700 grams of jam sugar and the juice of 2 lemons, and this was the result. Absolutely delicious. Hello everyone, I'm at the allotment. Oh, power tools in the gardens around here. But I just thought I'd show you the sweet peas down here. They are looking really cute considering they had the aphid attack. They are still flowering, and I'm going to let these all go to seed and collect the seeds for next year because they haven't had their best chance this year. So if I can save some seeds from them for next year, that'll be amazing. And then over here I've just rescued this tromboncino courgette because I've realised it was all kind of growing through and tangled, and look how massive it is. It's literally reached the top of the structure, which is amazing. That was the first thing I planted here ever, so the first planting at my new allotment, as you may remember from that video a few months ago, a couple of months ago. Where are we? Beginning of July, middle of July. Yeah, so it's probably like 2.5 months ago that these went in, and I think I'm going to get my first harvest from my very first allotment because down here, I should probably give the one been a bit longer, but I'm very tempted to pick this one because then it will be my first harvest from my first ever allotment, which would feel amazing. This bed, these guys weren't happy going in here, but if you look closely you can see there's a lot of good new growth coming, so I think they're going to regroup, so that's good, despite the other leaves looking really sad, so we might get something there. These guys are slowly perking up. They didn't like coming in here, in particular in this really warm weather, but I think they're going to be okay as well, so that's good. The pumpkins, update on the pumpkins. So we lost, there was 4 in here, 4 of the, what were they called? I can't remember what they're called, but they're sort of like a mid-sized pumpkin. 4 were in here. This one, I mean, look at the state of the stem, poor thing, but it's still going, bless it. They did not fare well, but it's still hanging on. This one's looking quite large, it's getting a bit longer across the bed now, and there's another little tiny one over there which looked like it was nearly dead, but it is regrouping, and the 4th one did die. On this side of the arch we didn't manage to save any of the Jack B. Littles. Even at home my Jack B. Littles aren't doing brilliantly, so I'm not a massive fan of them, to be honest. My little gems on the other side of the arch have already reached at home to the middle of the arch, but the Jack B. Littles on the other side of my arch just aren't really doing anything, so I'm not sure what's going on there. I think it's a soil issue because, anyway, I'm waffling. Down here, these are Jack B. Littles, and we have one there and one there that is still alive. They're still going, so we see how they go. I've got 4 in the greenhouse at home that I re-sowed, and they're bigger than both of these that have been going longer. So we will probably replace, we'll definitely put an extra one in here, and then we could put 3 over that side if these keep going, but let's see what happens. Excuse the stickiness, it's very warm. It's 27 degrees again today, but we've got big thunderstorms coming tomorrow, and the rain is so welcome, so welcome. It's really making everything look much happier. Now, just to add to the rosy glow, I'm going to dig more of this area because I've ordered some wood to border that area, which is coming next week. So hopefully I'll get time to get that bed fully in and plant those potatoes, which I picked up at the garden centre this week, in this bed once it's dug. See you later. Oh my goodness. So yes, as I said earlier, I have got these beans up here that are nearly ready to harvest. So I was going to pick those early, but I've just seen there's one down here that is definitely ready to harvest. So the first official harvest from plot 43. Yay! After enjoying some blackberry jam for breakfast, Saturday began with a delivery from Marshall's of some broccoli plugs. Handle with care? Oh dear. As the much-needed rain continued to fall on the garden, I headed off for an afternoon of work. When I got home, my youngest and I set about sorting out these poor broccoli plugs by potting them on into some slightly larger cells to grow on in the greenhouse. Then we checked on the worms. All was okay in there, so we headed inside for bath time and bedtime. Hello everyone, I am just finishing up this video with the seeds I'm sowing in July, because obviously you've seen me sow my parsnips and carrots. Parsnips are a bit late to be sowing now, but give it a go if you haven't sown any already, because you might still get some small parsnips for Christmas. So parsnips and carrots. Also, I'm going to sow some more runner beans, because runner beans can be sown in July. So I'm going to sow a few more of those with the view to perhaps taking them to an archway or a structure at the allotment. And of course, my potatoes that I've shown you that I've bought this week, they're going to be going in sometime this month once the bed is ready at the allotment. And I'm also going to sow a few radishes at the allotment as well, in the area around the lavender and the little dwarf beans. I'm going to put a few radish seeds in there as well, because they are very quick growing, and apparently lavender can be a good companion for radishes because it wards off some of the little mites that cause some issues. And we seem to be having some issues in the salad bed this time around, which we didn't have earlier in the season. So I'm going to try them at the allotment as well. So what can you be sowing in July? I'm sowing my runner beans, my carrots, a few parsnips, some radishes, and putting my potatoes in for Christmas as well. So let me know in the comments what you're sowing in July. I hope you've had a brilliant week, and I look forward to seeing you all again next week. Thank you all so much for watching as always. Have a brilliant week. Bye!